The Padres take 2 of 3 from the Los Angeles Dodgers and move back into a tie atop the National League West standings. Welcome into another edition of Friar Territory. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside former Padres center fielder Mike Cameron. Mike, big series for the Padres this weekend. They came in trailing the Dodgers, took 2 of 3. Now they're tied for first place atop the division. What was your overall takeaways from this series? Because we know how much this meant to the Padres. And again, a sweep, they would have been 2 games up on the Dodgers. Losing the finale, a little bit of a downer. At the same time, you win the series, you have a share of first place. All in all, a successful weekend.
Most definitely. We talked about this the last time on the show about the Padres need having a good homestand against a tough Giants team, although the record doesn't show that. And obviously, the nemesis up the road from them in the Dodgers, and they were able to take 2 or 3 of them. And really, it was all about the same thing that we talked about before on the last show was we needed some innings from the starters,
Yep.
and you got on Friday, you got Darvish going 6, giving up 1 hit to Blake Shell. On Saturday, you got Nestor Cortez giving them 6, giving up a hit, giving up 2 hits against Glass Now. He outdo Glass Now. And then
Yeah.
today, Pavetta gave him 6. It
Yeah.
just was Estrada who gave it up in the Dodgers. And look, we know you can't hold the Dodgers down every single game. They were going to eventually come out of it, and but it was a great series too for the Padres moving forward. They have hung around, and
Yep.
the Dodgers haven't taken advantage of that because they haven't been playing as well as everyone would like. But look, it's MLB baseball, man. Things happen over the course of time, and the Padres have definitely taken advantage of that opportunity and put themselves up a game on the Padres going into, I would say, the final week of August and the last month of the season.
Yeah, no question about it. Again, losing the finale, certainly a bummer. At the same time, take a step back. The Padres went 5-2 on this homestand after, frankly, looking as bad as they've looked all season against the Dodgers last weekend, dropping out of first place, could have gotten down on themselves. But we've seen this team have that mental strength, have that resilience over and over again, come back, take 3 of 4 from the Giants, especially after dropping the first game of the series, the Giants, winning 3 straight, then taking 2 of 3 from the Dodgers to once again at least have a share of first place. That's a good place to be. Now it's just about finishing. Before we dive into what's to come, I want to look back on this series, and you hit on a very, very important point. We talked about the last time the Padres and Dodgers faced off. The Padres did not get any length from their starters. Of course, it was a bullpen game, Michael King going on the IL, Wandy Peralta, Randy Vasquez, etc. But Yu Darvish and Dylan Cease in that series combined to give the Padres 7 1/3 innings across their 2 starts. That's just not a formula for success. This weekend, completely different story. Yu Darvish, Nestor Cortez, and Nick Pivetta combined for 18 innings pitched, 4 hits allowed, 3 earned
Yeah.
runs, 4 walks, 15 strikeouts. And as you mentioned, Darvish in the opener, 6 innings. The only hit and run he allowed was a solo homer to Alex Freeland. Game 2, Nestor Cortez, who has struggled since being acquired from the Padres and coming off the IL with a left elbow strain, takes a perfect game into the 6th inning against the Dodgers. And again in the finale, Nick Pivetta, 6 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, 7 punchouts, as dominant as he's been, like he has all year, really. When the guy who throws 6 innings and allows 2 hits and 2 runs is your worst start of the weekend, that's just a
Yeah.
really, really incredible performance from your starting pitchers. And we've talked about so much that we know that this bullpen is elite. It is the best in baseball. This offense, while improved since the trade deadline, they're 14th in runs scored since the trade deadline. They're around league average from being bottom 10 in the league. So they've improved, but this is not an explosive, top of the league caliber offense. The variable is the starting pitching. And we know what Yu
Mhm.
Darvish and Dylan Cease and even Nestor Cortez are capable of. And now it's about them being more consistent than they have been. And we saw this weekend what happens when Darvish pitches his best, Cortez pitches his best, and Pivetta does what he's been doing all year. The Padres can take down anyone.
Yeah. Hey, look, the Pods are in a very good position right now with about 5 weeks to play.
Yep.
And they're getting contributions to obviously from the guys that they brought in, being Ramon Laureano, who
Oh,
has
yeah.
added much value to it.
Yep.
He hasn't done much offensively, but he's been a pillar defensively, and that's a catcher for me.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the biggest things I think that they have is the interchangeability in adding um O'Hearn,
Yeah.
and also being able to put Gavin in some spots now where he's had a pretty good, he had 2 homers and 5 ribbies over the last 7 games. So
Yeah.
you
Two
know that
doubles
that
today. He's been
yeah.
hit.
So to be able to come off the bench and add that punch, to the lineup is a plus to the team. um, you know what you're gonna get from Manny. Obviously, Tatis has been up and down, but the one thing he's done is walked. He hasn't done a whole lot, but he's walked a lot. So at the
Yeah.
top of the lineup, they need that, but they're gonna need some more to continue to progress to the top if they're gonna be able to uh, succeed. The LA Dodgers, they don't have any more games anymore. That is it. So it's now up to these two teams to be able, up to, the Padres to be able to take care of business. And at this point, with 31 games left to go in the season, you have to be able to try to win as many series as you can. I mean, those things will be most important. Where everyone and their mama be looking at the scoreboard every day and the standings or whatever. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, as for the players, it is business as such. You have to be able to come out and try to win series as much as possible. And you keep your mind frame on that particular aspect where you don't get the anxiety that you got to win every single game. I mean, it's just a matter of just taking care of business at this particular point.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of the trade deadline additions on the offensive side, and they have made a big, big impact. Again, Fermin got off to a hot start offensively. He's cooled off a little
Yeah.
bit. Defense has been great. Laureano O'Hearn's had some big, big homers. As I mentioned before, the Padres going into the trade deadline were 25th or excuse me, 24th in the majors in runs scored. Since
Yeah.
the trade deadline, they're 14th in runs scored. So again, much, much better going from 24th to 14th. But again, and we know this. We saw this during this series. The Padres scored 9 runs in 3 games against the Dodgers. And again, this is not an offense that's going to come out and bang, 4 or 5 homers a game, even though they just did against the Giants. They're going to manufacture runs. They're going to lay down sack bunts. They're going to have to rely on timely hits. That's their formula for success offensively. When you have that as an offense and you have a great bullpen, you have two of the big three, pieces in place to continue winning, but so much is dependent on the starting pitching. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this weekend. Whenever someone has a long layoff as a starter, the general rule of thumb is give them 3 or 4 starts to figure it out. And after that, they need to be producing. In
Yeah.
Darvish's case, he really struggled over his first 4 starts. The 5 starts since have been much better, but it's been very up and down. It's been inconsistent, great start followed by bad start. If he
Yeah.
can this was a big, big day for him to come out with a chance to pitch the Padres into a share of first place on Friday, going in the Padres were a game behind the Dodgers. For him to go
Yeah.
out and deliver the performance he did, especially after the Dodgers rocked him in his last outing, I thought was just a really, really important step forward. And let's not forget Nestor Cortez. I know everyone's going to remember him for serving up the homer to Freddie Freeman in the World Series last
Yeah.
year. This is a very good pitcher. This is a very good
Oh, no
left-handed
doubt.
pitcher.
Definitely.
If he missed most of the season with a left elbow strain. His first 3 starts with the Padres were not good. This was start 4, and this was the Nestor Cortez we have seen before, the dominant lefty who can shut down any lineup. If Yu Darvish and Nestor Cortez have now turned the corner from their injuries, from their time away, and are able to replicate their performance again, not that Cortez is going to take a perfect game into the 6th every start out, but just again, the level of performance we saw from them against the Dodgers, if they can maintain that, that's going to be, in my mind, the difference maker in terms of whether the Padres win the division or fall just short.
Most definitely. I mean, we all know at this particular point in the season, everyone is tired and laboring to the finish line,
Yeah.
and more teams than others. And but the teams that are in the fight continuously uh, for the last 5 weeks, they understand what it is, and so their minds and their mental aspect is locked in on a daily basis. So you're going to see pretty much some good games, down the stretch where they're going to be probably mentally exhausted, and you're going to need that to be able to get into a playoff spot, in the National League. And obviously, with you, Darvish and Nestor Cortez, look, you Darvish has had success against and some failures against the LA Dodgers. But it's more than the Dodgers, at this point. It's about you focusing on your team and the position that you are in to be able to carry out this postseason run.
Yeah.
With the series here against the Dodgers and what they were able to obtain from their starters,
Yeah.
it bodes well for the guys on the back end of the bullpen.
Oh, yeah.
Bullpens are basically good because of what the starters are able to create over the course of the game, length wise in inning wise. So, we saw last week where it was just screwed up because the starter wasn't giving them anything. And
Yeah.
then you got Michael Keane to go down, and then you have to be able to insert guys from the bullpen that are probably out of their roles at that point, but you got to try to get through it as much as possible. They're going to get a chance to add a pitcher and a position player in about 7 days. So, like you want to get some help on that aspect of it. But the trusted people are already there, to be able to help the team out. But you may get an arm that may surprise you that can help out, down the stretch. And those things are key at this particular point in the season where everyone is laboring and they're probably not don't have a full tank or a full charge of
Yeah.
green going down the stretch. So it's going to be important to how these guys manage. We know that Darvish and Nestor are coming off injuries. And so it's going to be important to make sure you check in with these guys on a daily basis to see where they at and how they feel, going down the stretch. Other than that, it's just a matter of playing good baseball we on a nightly basis. And they got a very big series coming up again, against the good old Seattle Mariners up in Seattle. So, as we started talking about how well this team plays on the road and facing a team that plays very well at home.
Yeah. And that's definitely something we'll get into, Mike. Again, there's a lot more to talk about this series. Again, on the whole, 5-2 this homestand. Take 2 of 3 from the Dodgers. The first time the Padres won a series all year against the Dodgers, the final series they faced them. Come out of it with the share of first place. Again, everyone in that clubhouse certainly wanted to win the finale, finish off the sweep,
Yeah.
be up 2 games in first place. But when you take a step back, 30,000-foot view, they're in a good spot. They had a great series. Their starters turned a corner. And now they're in position to, in some ways, control their own destiny. They need a little bit of help because the Dodgers won the season series. But that said,
Yeah.
they're in a really good spot. There is one thing that took place in the finale, and you alluded to this earlier, Jeremiah Estrada getting hit around and ultimately, turning a tie game into a runaway Dodgers win with his struggles in the 7th. Jeremiah Estrada has struggled a lot against the Dodgers this year, and I want to get your thoughts on that. We're going to take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsors, then we will dive in. The dog days of summer means MLB is fully heating up, and so is your shot to score big. Download the Pick 6 app for the easiest way to turn your baseball takes into actual cash. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. No gimmicks, no weird rules, and get this. All new Pick 6 customers will instantly get $50 in bonus picks on just a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL. New customers play $5 and get $50 in bonus picks instantly. Ride the upside, where a few bucks can turn into a bag. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. 8/24/25 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, Mike. In the finale, the Padres and Dodgers were tied 2-2 going into the 7th inning. The Padres turned to Jeremiah Estrada, one of their best relievers all year, and frankly, one of the best middle relievers in all of baseball. He'd be a setup man or closer for most teams.
Yeah.
He served up the tie-breaking 3-run home run to Dalton Rushing. gave up a single to Mookie Betts. Eventually, Wandy Peralta replaced him. Freddie Freeman homered, so he was charged with that run as well. So 2/3 of an inning, 4 runs allowed by Jeremiah Estrada. Jeremiah Estrada has been fantastic all year, except against the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers completely have Jeremiah Estrada's number, excuse me. And here are the numbers behind that. In 8 appearances against the Dodgers this year, Jeremiah Estrada has given up 12 earned runs. He has given up 8 earned runs in 54 appearances against everybody else. Think about that. He's given up 12 earned runs against the Dodgers this year and 8 earned runs against the entire rest of the league. When you have someone that you know is one of your horses and one of your guys, but you know that there is a team that just completely has his number, what is the best approach to that in your mind? Do you shy away from him? Do you ride the guys who got you there? Splits be damned. Like, where do you stand on this?
Well, I tell you what, look, Estrada has been a horse. We obviously know for the last couple of years for the Padres, and one of the guys that's very trusted by Shildy. Is you may just have to change up your pitching plan against some of these guys, but because it seems like since you said the Dodgers seem to have his number a little bit, so we may have to sit down with the pitching group and sit down with the analytics and the pitch shapes and all that kind of stuff. Those guys that all would get in a room and try to make out a plan for these guys and going into a game and how they tend to do everything. And obviously, Jeremiah is going to be a big piece going down the stretch. So you're going to need him. You don't have to worry about the Dodgers right now. Obviously, you don't have to worry about them at this particular point. There's going to come a time where Stilty's going to signal for that right arm out there. He's going to bring him in, and it's going to be important for the Dodgers, for the Padres team to be entrusted with Strada being able to get maybe 1, 2, maybe an inning, whatever it may be for that particular time. Well, obviously now you got to get 3 outs or whatever, so you got to face 3 batters. So I mean, obviously, and that's going to be, who knows what that's going to be, but I think he understands that. The Dodgers knows that. He knows that. But at the same time, his focus is only to continue to do the job that he's done this year. Has been very, very good. And it's just continuous. Like, sometimes people have your number. And then, a month from now, we don't know what may happen, but he's going to be a big piece of what's going to go, big piece of what the Padres are doing down the stretch at this particular point. So you got to be able to be entrusted in him, and he understands that, and I think the team understands that. We just got to be able to get probably a different plan against these guys since they have his number going down the stretch.
Yeah, and again, it wasn't just the finale. In the second game, he served up a home run as well. And again, the Padres would not be where they are without Jeremiah Estrada. And so you don't want to just say, oh, when you have a big situation against one of the best teams in baseball, you're going to shy away from one of your horses. That's not something you necessarily want to do. At the same time, I do think maybe you start being a little more selective about when you bring him in, when there is a team that, again, just completely has his number. I'll repeat it. 12 earned runs in 8 appearances against the Dodgers, 8 earned runs in 54 appearances against everyone else. Yeah. He is as good as anyone in baseball against every team but the Dodgers, and against the Dodgers, he has an ERA over 15. It's just something that's such a stark split. I do think that you maybe, again, it's not a situation where you say, hey, the Padres, if they face the Dodgers call it the NLDS, you're going to see them for potentially 5 games. You're not going to not use Jeremiah Estrada.
Oh, no doubt.
But maybe you're a little more selective about the spots you use him in, maybe find some lower leverage spots. Because again, for whatever reason, and Mike, you know this, there are some teams that just for whatever reason have your number, whether it's something they've picked up in their scouting report, the game plan, their strengths versus your weaknesses. It just happens sometimes. And right now, this is a situation where, again, for whatever reason, the Dodgers just completely own Jeremiah Estrada. And it came back to hurt the Padres in this finale.
I mean, the one thing about baseball players, they know. Like you don't got to get out a piece of paper. You don't got to pull out all these different things. They know. They understand what's going on. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure Jeremiah's like, man, I don't know what it is about these Dodgers, man, but they kind of they kind of got my number here for a little bit. So he's gonna go in. They're gonna go back to the chessboard and they're gonna try to, drawing board to go out and play a different game of chess with these guys and see what he can come up with. Maybe he needs to double up on spinning the ball a little bit more, or maybe he just, do different things as your pitch shape and your pitch, how you're able to pitch to these guys and whatever it may be. It also may come down to like, hey, she'll just say, hey, maybe I need to avoid maybe the top three guys of this lineup and put him in against maybe the
Well, it
middle
was the bottom
third.
of the lineup today, and it didn't work. So,
Oh
I mean,
yeah. I mean,
but,
so yeah,
yeah,
somebody got something, what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like they know something, they see him pretty well, and
yeah.
it's just gonna be him changing up a little bit against these guys, moving forward. I'll pay close attention to this. And obviously, I watch pretty much every Mariner game. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna be in the game, and I'll be watching to see what I can see, as to what is going on. But as we spoke before, the guy is lights out against everybody else. So it's just something that may be coming about that where the Dodgers know what is transpiring with this guy. And it's going to be up to him and the pitching team and the game planning team to come up with something different than what they've already done.
Yeah. And again, he's one of the best relievers in baseball. You expect him to figure it out. It might not be a problem anymore because the Padres may not
Yeah.
face the Dodgers again, depending on what happens in the
Yeah.
postseason. We know they won't face them again in the regular season, and anything can
Yeah.
happen in the postseason. So it might be a moot point, but it is something I think that you need to be cognizant of in the event these two teams do meet again in the playoffs. And Mike, that brings me into my next point. The Padres and Dodgers are tied for first place atop the National League West. Both are in great position to make the postseason. Both have firmly been in playoff position really for the entire season. The Padres fell out of playoff position for a quick minute. It didn't last long.
Yeah.
When you have a situation like this where you're neck and neck with another team, look, you've lived this. You were a part of some teams that
Yeah.
had a division lead and kept it and went on to win division title. You were part of some teams that had division lead late in the season and missed the playoffs entirely, including the 2007 Padres. What for you are the biggest keys to staying atop the division, to being that team that does finish strong and you look up the end of the season and you are division champions versus something goes wrong and there's a collapse? Is it strictly talent or is there some mindset component of it? What do you identify as the keys for finishing strong when you have a situation like this?
I just think at this point, Kyle, a lot of it is just the focus. I mean, the talent is there. We obviously know the talent is there. There's a reason why this team is at the top of the division after going through a stretch where they wasn't in it, part of it. And then a
Yeah.
part of it is because they had so many guys hurt, some of your talent that was hurt, and now they're back. It's just a matter of now keeping guys healthy down the stretch enough to where they are confident mentally to be able to go out and compete on a daily basis and understand what's at stake on a daily basis. I mean, we are at the stretch run. We're in that corner, that 200-meter stretch right now, where guys are trying to get position to hold on and to be able to accelerate and finish as best as possible. But in baseball, man, like you have to continue to stay calm and play the game of baseball that you've been playing all year long, and your talent more than likely succeeds at the end. And obviously that comes with production. And the production has to continue to come from the guys that are in the lineup now. And either they play great defense, they pitch well, they pitch well in the back of the bullpen. So you need to be able to try to continue to play a positive, productive game on a nightly basis going down the stretch, because no one's gonna give you anything just because you shows up. People they know. I mean, they know it's like, hey, you get a chance to knock somebody out, you're gonna be doing your best. You're gonna probably start facing some guys that you don't know.
Yeah.
Teams are bringing up guys now, and you're gonna face some
September
guys you don't know,
calls.
but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
There's a
yeah.
comment.
They're not many now, with them having a new 26-man roster where you can bring
Right.
up a
It's
whole bunch of
28,
guys,
not 40, but yeah, it's still
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
some
but
new guys.
still, Yeah,
Yeah.
still, you may face a starter that you don't know, but you got to be locked in, man. You got to be able to lock in and understand the type of game that we play. The one of the biggest things is like they just need to get, down the stretch. You're gonna have to get some production from um Tatis for one. You haven't had much homer production from these guys, so that's going to be important down the stretch. Getting some production, from Cronenworth and Sheets continuously and O'Hearn. So a lot of these guys have already been in this situation,
Yeah.
down the stretch, a playoff stretch run, and
Yeah.
so it's going to be important for these guys to go out and play good baseball on a nightly basis where you fight to the end, 9 innings, man, and give yourself a chance to win ball games.
And where you have confidence is the Padres did this last year. They finished extremely strong down the stretch. They were in it to the very end with the Dodgers. And this is a team that has a manager in Mike Schilt who has a history of teams having great second halves and finishing
Oh yeah.
very, very strong. So I don't think there's much concern. I think realistically, like you said, this team's going to be focused. They're not going to be too tense. I do want to ask you though, take us behind the scenes because look, us,
Yeah.
we're reporters. We go and we talk to
Yeah.
players. It's all the same cliches. We're not looking at the
Yeah.
standing. We're focused on
Oh
ourselves. Like,
yeah, yeah,
okay,
right.
give it to us straight. I mean, you're looking at the standings like every day, and you're scoreboard watching, right?
Especially when you're playing on the West Coast, you're watching games while you're taking BP. So yes, it's
Okay.
important, like to understand that there's nothing wrong with those things. You just have when your game starts at 7 o'clock, you got to be locked in and
Yeah.
in tune to what's going on with yourself. I mean, look, as you said, this team has been in this situation before. The manager's been there before. They all understand it, and it's just a matter now at this particular point in executing the simple basics, fundamental stuff on a nightly basis, and then your talented lineup takes over and what they're doing. There's no panic if I lose the first game or whatever it may be. It's just like understand that look, we need to get in it so we can win, try to have a chance to win the series. And look, once again, they're gonna have to play a little bit better on the road, but this is a tough weekend, a tough week coming up here going up to the Pacific Northwest playing the Seattle Mariners.
Absolutely. And we are going to get into that upcoming series and how critical it is and what the Padres have to prove in that series against the Mariners. And then remain on the road afterward, 3 games against the Minnesota Twins. So big 6-game road trip coming up here for the Padres. We're going to dive into that. Going to take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsors. Then we'll have a full breakdown for you.
FT fam, welcome to the world's most comfortable swimwear. For a moment, we are talking about Fair Harbor. We actually have some show and tell today. This is the liner that you're working with inside of the shorts and the bathing suits.
You know what the best part is about this, Scott?
What?
They have a lot of different options because these are clearly yours because I would never order this pattern, but
that
they
is
look
so
great
me.
on you.
That is so me.
These are so you. Mine are a little bit more plain than this.
Yes.
But they are super comfortable. The liner, I love liner shorts. Some people don't. But these liners are better than most that I've had on, if not all of them.
Yeah,
Because
this is the best liner out there.
No mesh. All of the above is perfect.
Exactly. It's really good. You got to give it a shot. Also, fun random fact, you get a new shirt. It smells really good. So head to fairharborclothing.com/FOUL and use code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase. Once again, Fair Harbor, HARBOR clothing.com/FOUL for 20% off your first purchase and use that promo code FOUL so they know FT sent you.
All right, Mike, the Padres head up to Seattle for a 3-game series against the Mariners, continuing the Vetter Cup. I got to say, I prefer to think of it as the Mike Cameron Bowl. That's what we need to rename this thing.
I'm up for all of that. I'm for that. I am an immaculate grid guy. So, anytime you can throw out a Padres and a Mariners situation, obviously it's going to be pretty special going up there for this particular this week, in the beginning of the weekend. I would expect there's going to be a lot of crowds, big crowds in Seattle this week, with some people maybe taking maybe their last vacation before Labor Day or running into Labor Day weekend or whatever it may be. But it's going to be a very big series up there, man. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. And obviously, Actually, I'm going to be in Seattle to do a golf tournament for um, what it is called, uh, the uh, the sponsors, the big sponsors for
Yep.
Seattle. So, I'll be up there on Wednesday, so I'll be able to check out some of the things that are going on up there. So it'll be pretty special.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of crossover. The Padres and Mariners loved trading with each other the early 2000s. I mean,
Oh
I like the Mike
yeah,
Cameron Bowl better than like the Ben Davis Bowl or the Ramon
yeah,
Vasquez Bowl. I think it's
yeah,
got a
yeah, yeah,
little,
yeah, yeah,
little more
yeah.
clout to it.
Yeah, it got a little more,
A
just
little
a
more.
little more.
Hey, Ben Davis was the higher draft pick, but you were definitely the better
Yes,
big league yourself.
yes,
There
it
goes to
was.
show.
Big
With that,
Ben, I love Big Ben, dog.
so Mike, coming
uh,
into this series, the Padres, as we've talked about, tied for first place in the National League West. The Mariners are fighting with the Astros for first place in the AL West. They're a few games back.
yeah,
The Mariners have been scuffling a little bit. They're
yeah,
70-61 on the year, but they've lost 8 of their last 11. And like the
yeah,
Padres, they have been excellent at home and have really struggled on the road. And this is where this is going to be, again, I don't want to call it a test series for the Padres because I don't want to overstate it, but we've talked about it. At home, this Padres team is as good as anyone in baseball, and that's not an exaggeration. They're 43-22 at home. That's tied with the Brewers for the best home record in baseball. Think about that. The Phillies in Citizens Bank Park, the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, the Red Sox in
yeah,
Fenway Park, the Cubs in Wrigley Field, the Dodgers in Chavez Ravine, all these storied franchises with these legendary home field advantages. The Padres are better than all of them this year. At home, this is a
yeah,
team that is right there with the best team in baseball in the Brewers. And they're a sub 500 team on the road. They're 31-35. Now they're going on the road to face a team that is in the playoff hunt, that is a quality team. And we've talked about so much that for this Padres team to get over that hump and show that they are, again, they are a World Series contender, but realistically, to get to the World Series, you have to beat good teams on the road to get there. And that is one thing the Padres still have to prove they can do consistently. I think this series is going to be really, really key for them. A, to keep pace with the Dodgers, yes, but also to show, hey, we can go into someone else's house and come out with a series win against a good team because that is not something they've done consistently this year. And it really is the one final box they need to check before you say, okay, yeah, I trust this team to potentially put together a deep postseason run.
yeah. So, as we look at these two teams going into this series, um, the Padres are playing good baseball. It's just something when they put those road uniforms on where things go a little bit haywire, for the most part. And in Seattle's case, they're the same way. They put the road uniforms on, although they had a grueling last 3 city trip
Yeah,
and playing in little what are kids play at Williamsport, so
yeah,
they had a lot of late games
yeah,
dealing with the weather, whatever it may be on the East Coast. But for this situation now, like it basically comes down to two really good playoff caliber baseball teams coming into a series. And if the Padres can get out of their mind, as long as people in the media don't remind them that they're not very good on the road, they wouldn't know. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't know. They know that they're not probably the best team on the road, but
yeah.
they're close to 500. They're 3-4 games under 500 on the
4 games
road,
under. Yeah.
four games under. So it's just a matter now of them understanding that what is at stake at this particular point, and understanding that the teams that you play now, you have to try to enforce your will,
Yeah.
early in the game to give yourself a chance to make it feel like you're defending home territory, which is your position at that particular part. And
Yeah.
and obviously, like we know that it's gonna. Well, I said this again, it's gonna be a tough series because the as Mariners haven't played well on the road, we know that they're very good at home, and the
Yeah.
pitching is very good at home. So we don't expect for it to be a loud outburst offensively. It's just
Yeah.
going to be a team that which team executes the best. There are not a lot of runs scored in T-Mobile Ballpark, and
No.
so you have to be able to take care of the baseball and pitch your best, and obviously take the opportunities as they're given to you, and give yourself a chance to execute.
Yeah, and again, that's the style of baseball that the Padres excel at. They can't get into a slugfest with anyone. They're not going to win that if they do. It's about, again, good defense, good base running, good pitching, timely hits. I do think we'll see a lot of 3-2, 2-1, maybe we'll get a 4-3, 5-3 score in there. I do expect this to be a fairly low scoring series. And this is where it's so critical for the Padres, this 6-game road trip going to Seattle, then Minnesota. The Padres' September schedule is insanely light. As
Yeah.
much as, yes, the Dodgers have the head-to-head advantage against the Padres, and that is big in terms of down the stretch. If they finish with the same record, the Dodgers will be division champions. The Dodgers have a tougher September schedule. The red carpet is laid out for the Padres in September. They only have one series that makes you even think twice, and that's a home series against the Brewers. It's the second to last series of the year when, frankly, the Brewers might very well have home field locked up as well as
Clinch.
the division and kind of resting their guys. So the Padres, if they can get into September, either with a share of first place or in first place, they're going to be golden. But they have 6 games until then. And if they say go 1-5 on this road trip and fall, call it 4 or 5 games back of the Dodgers going into September, it's an entirely different calculation. So I actually think that as much as, yes, this Dodger series was huge, and because it was directly for first place, of course it's going to be the most important series. But these 2 road series at Seattle and Minnesota, and of course starting with the Mariners, this is going to be critical because if the Padres go into September tied for first or a game up or even just 1 game back, I think you say they're going to win the division. But if they struggle on this road trip and the Dodgers go have some success and the Padres fall 4 games back, it's a different calculation. So I actually think this is going to be super critical for the Padres. One thing I will say that is in their favor in the opener, at least, the Padres are throwing JP Sears, who's going up against Bryce Miller. You'll remember JP Sears was part of the Mason Miller trade, came over from the A's
Yeah.
almost as an afterthought.
Yeah.
JP Sears owns the Seattle Mariners. Completely and utterly owns the Seattle Mariners.
Oh my goodness.
11 games in his career, 10 starts, 2.77 ERA. His career with the A's, it was again throughout his career he's been a fine pitcher, right? Low 4s, ERA, solid. He owns the Seattle Mariners. So from the Padres perspective, having JP Sears going in game 1, it's a nice little advantage for them to have.
Man, I had no idea JP Sears was this good against Seattle. But as you bring that up, Seattle struggled against left-handed pitching for some reason. Their record is not very good against left-handed pitching. So I'm pretty sure they understand that this is a challenge too, and they get an old foe and JP Sears coming back to try to take the first game of a series. And I'm pretty sure JP Sears not like, hey man, hey, I'm good. I'm good in Seattle. I'm good against the Mariners. So it's gonna be an ultimate challenge, and I'm gonna look forward to it tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Knowing that it's gonna be a great series up there going to play against the Seattle Mariners. And the Padres, they understand what's at stake. Obviously, Seattle understand what's at stake. So this is a big series for both teams, because of the closeness in the race that they are to the division, to the top of the division. So, I expect for both of these teams to play really good baseball going into this last month of the season.
Also, I got to say, these are some great pitching matchups, which is to be expected. These are 2
Oh,
teams
yeah.
that are loaded with arms, but
Oh,
start off
yeah.
JP Sears versus Bryce Miller. And look, I know Bryce Miller has not had the best season. He's had some injuries. Bryce
No.
Miller is capable any game going out and throwing
Oh,
7
yeah.
runs. Like,
Oh, no
the
doubt.
talent
No
is
doubt.
there. It's just
No
been a
doubt.
rough season. Game 2, Dylan Cease versus Luis Castillo. Again, similar deal. Dylan Cease has not been very consistent, but any game he's capable of going out there and throwing 7 scoreless. And
Yeah.
Luis Castillo is a stud. He's always been a stud. He's still a stud. And then to finish off, you get Yu Darvish versus Brian Wu. Brian Wu, I was saying for most of the year, Reese Olson is the best pitcher no one's heard of. Olson got
Yeah.
hurt. I would
Yeah.
really hope more people have figured out how good Brian Wu is by now. But if they haven't, Brian Wu is the best pitcher you've never heard of. This guy's a stud. So you've got 3 starting pitching matchups. If I was in Seattle, I'd be buying tickets for all 3 games. Well, if I
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
to cover them. But I mean, just the point is, independent of just, yes, I mean, it's a big series for both teams. Just the pitching matchups from a baseball enjoyment perspective, it's going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
fun. This is going to be real
Oh, no
fun.
doubt. No doubt about it. Considering, as you mentioned, a couple of the other guys like Darvish coming back and, going through his struggles here and there, but he's now kind of seemed to be on track and he shuts down a Dodger team that, in the middle of a heat of a playoff race where you need to win ball games. You Darvish is experienced. You Darvish would scare the heck out of me, partly because he throws like 9 different pitches on
Yeah.
7 different arm slots. So, that's one thing that'll probably be the only guy that I'd probably be really worried about if I had to face this guy. I'm like, oh my God, I got to face this guy and he throws, pretty hard too. So, you can't. There's a lot to that in that particular point. But
He's
as you
not
said,
a kitchen sink thumber where like there's guys who throw the kitchen
no,
sink, but it's because
no, no,
their
no,
fastball sits like 88 and they have to have 8 different
no,
pitches. He has 8, 9
no.
different pitches, and here's 97 in on your hands.
Exactly. And like he's a athlete. The guy he just know he looks like one of those guys that would pitch in my era that's like it gives you a very comfortable 0 for 4 before you even know it. Like what happened? Like what happened?
Yeah,
He's one of those guys, but he has punch out potential because of the velocity that he has on his fastball.
yeah.
So, yes, yeah, I look forward. Guys are seeming to be steady. In the Padres lineup. And it's just a matter of I would love to see this turn into a big series with Julio and Tatis Jr., 2 of my favorite players in the game, obviously today. But it's going to come down to execution, and it's probably going to come down to 1 or 2 innings where this thing, these games are decided because of the I guess the balance of both teams. They're both built on the same thing. Padre the, the Mariners may hit a few more homers, but for the most part, if you match these teams up, what they are capable of doing, they're both are similar in style of play. Maybe a little more speed on the Seattle side also.
Again, there's no question about it. There are some differences between these 2 teams for sure, but at their core, the strength of these teams and what they will ride to postseason success is their pitching staff, both the rotation and the bullpen. Plenty of guys capable of beating anyone on any given day. It's just a matter of who's a little bit sharper that day. Regardless, it should be a very, very fun series. Again, Padres series against the Dodgers was full of emotion. A lot was on the line. They took 2 of 3. Again, a little bit of a letdown losing the series finale, but there's no time to feel sorry for yourself. You got to go up and face a really good Mariners team. And again, the Padres are still in a great position. Now it's just about executing down the stretch. Mike, any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
Well, my final thought for today will be the Mike Cameron Cup. I'm very interested in this series. Obviously, I got ties more in Seattle, and but just as I said before, I'm looking for Tatis to kind of take another step for this team. Down the stretch. Man, has been solid, and as always, he's been all through. But it's going to take a few more guys to come along, and they need Tatis probably at his best now down the stretch if they're going to overcome the Dodgers and being a division champ. And like I'm looking forward to down the stretch, man. When you're down the stretch, like the games are so important. You start to see more intense baseball, and I love it. Like when you're playing on a playoff caliber team and you're going down the stretch, man, it's some of the best baseball you can possibly be in. And we got 3 good games here coming up here in Pacific Northwest, starting tomorrow.
No question about it. And like you said, the Padres stars have to play like stars. They did score only 9 runs across the 3 games against the Dodgers. Obviously, you want to see that number increase a little bit down the stretch, especially as they start facing some of these better pitching staffs. And they'll have a chance against the Mariners, but we will see what happens. Mike, thank you so much for joining me. We appreciate your expertise and insight as always.
Thank you, Kyle. Thanks for having me. And I woke up feeling 60 as hell again. I woke up feeling 60.
I had a long day, and so that's why I'm unshaven, wearing the backwards hat. Although I got
It's
to
okay.
it was funny. Professional me, in the press box show, I'm wearing my, my collared shirt,
Yeah,
dressing
yeah.
nice. Like most people in a professional environment kind of see me like looking clean cut. I think people don't, I mean, I know people in the work environment don't really know. Like I'm very much like a rainbow sandals, board shorts, backwards hat, surf t-shirt kind of guy. Like my wife makes fun of me for still wearing like Hurley and Billabong. She's like, you're in your mid dad. What are you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm a San Diego dad. Like that's what we
It's
roll
San
with.
Diego, man.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's just one of those things.
Fun and a sign for pretty much 12 months out of the year. other than June gloom.
May grade too. May grade too. Like
May grade.
a little rough,
You're right.
but yeah, the rest of the year is
You're
great
right.
stuff. Yeah. Well, with that, this has been another edition of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. Go ahead and give us a review. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, whatever platform you're watching and listening on. We'd love to hear from you. Once again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Find me and Mike in the comments on YouTube. Hit us up on Twitter, all the good stuff. We love talking ball, and we love hearing from all of you folks watching us. For Mike Cameron, I'm Kyle Glaser. Thank you for watching and listening. We will see you later this week to wrap up the Mariners series.